You should care about polling even though the majority of it is fake. Why? Because polling is kind of like reading tea leaves. Okay, we can go over the intricacies of how polling's been bad or good over time. Certainly, it predicted Trump was going to lose in 2016. Some of it predicted he was going to win in 2020. Both of those were wrong. And now you're seeing polling around Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Here's the only thing you really need to understand about polling is that it is an art instead of a science, and that it measures momentum instead of where things are currently. And that's a good way to think about it. So for example, if you're looking at Polymarket, for example, which is a betting market in which you can place bets on who's going to win an election, that doesn't necessarily deem who is going to win the election that day. It kind of predicts the upward momentum or upward trajectory of a candidate, whether they are going to win or going to lose. But stepping back, polling is only as good, so they say, as the data that it's being based off of. For example, one of the reasons Donald Trump won Pennsylvania was because of a high turnout in Amish communities. They did the polling by phone, and Amish people do not have phones, at least very few of them do. So the polling missed that large subset of the population, which was an activated user base. But when I look at polling, and I look at polling practically every day, it's to see the different models and methods of the electorate that's being tested. So you can have a poll on Twitter, you can have a poll done in person by people knocking on doors, you can have polls done by phone, you can have polls with 100 people, 1,000 people, 5,000 people. You're going to be hit all the time with polls. And of course, most of these polls are going to be meant to sway an opinion because, one, we all want to feel good. We want to see a poll that says our guy's going to win. It's going to give us more use cases in an argument. It's going to make us feel good that we're on the winning side. No one wants to lose. On the flip side, polls can be used for demoralization. If you see a bunch of polling that your candidate's going to lose badly by 10 percentage points, most of the time that's on purpose to dissuade other people from voting because, hey, why not just give up? So polling is an art, and it's also a piece of propaganda. And when you start looking at polling from that lens and that point of view, it can actually be useful because you can look and say, well, what is the New York Times trying to tell me by their poll? What happens when the New York Times poll actually has someone like Donald Trump winning? One, why would they release it? And why even conduct the poll to begin with, right? If they know they're dealing with a different subset of data. Sometimes it's because they wanted incentives to give a reason to kick the candidate out. The polling around Biden was terrible, even though I think the polling with Biden would have actually been better than it would have been with Kamala. But they wanted to get rid of Biden. They viewed him as a problem. And so all the polling said Biden's got to go, and that's exactly what they did. That's why there wasn't a lot of outrage around Biden actually leaving. Now the polling, if you look at the momentum, Kamala Harris post-DNC looked like she was overtaking Donald Trump, but now she's flatlined, right? Because once again, the polling measures momentum. Kamala had a lot of upward momentum. The media, the press coverage was great during the DNC and then up until that moment. But then it plummeted. She had a failed interview that was supposed to be an hour, was only 18 minutes. Her communist policies around dictating what price food's going to be really made her look like the communist that she is. And so that, and along with her just being awkward in public and not accepting any more interviews, really tanked a lot of her momentum, which now you're seeing in the polling. Whereas Donald Trump continues to go out in public, continues to host rallies, speak on podcasts. The most recent one, Lex Friedman. Before that, he was on Aiden Ross. So it's now kind of reverting back to the mean where Trump's momentum is the exact same as it was under Biden. So when you're looking at polling, I get it. A lot of it's fake. A lot of it's BS, but when you see it, whether it's right or wrong, view it as okay, how is this being used as propaganda for or against my side? And then what is this telling me about the momentum? So if you were to do a poll strictly on the Hispanic population or the black population or the white population, maybe it's just measuring the momentum of that subset, right? Obviously, if it's a black poll of just black households in the United States, it's probably going to show that Kamala Harris is going to win. But if even among that black household poll, you're seeing that momentum is dropping, that means the grander effect of that is Kamala Harris's, one of her basic core voting blocks is lacking enthusiasm for her, right? So when you view polling once again as a measurement of energy and momentum and excitement, then you start to realize, okay, it's not about who's going to win today. We're measuring who's going to win tomorrow.